All right, so this episode was inspired by a personal decision that I recently made to quit something. And I was a little conflicted with it for a little while because I had always equated quitting with failure. And I think most people do. It's a common conception and sometimes a misconception. And I came to realize that quitting doesn't always equal failure. Because I was talking with someone about it, and she was, someone that I really look up to in her opinion. But I also saw a message from, or not a message, it was a video from Mel Robbins. I started following her upon the advice of this person, and I really admire the things that she speaks on. So I really admire the things that she speaks on. And anyways, she is an author, she's a researcher, she has a podcast. But she shared this message on quitting. And she said that winners quit all the time. And I was really interested by that. And she explained that you either quit something out of fear or you quit something out of courage. And that made so much sense to me because I felt so strong that it was a good decision to make the choice to quit this endeavor. But I still had something in me that said, well, if I quit this, then I failed at it, But I still felt very strong and very good about it, good that the direction that it would lead me. Sorry, you can hear my dogs in the background. But yeah, so how to know the difference between quitting something out of fear and quitting something out of courage. And what that means is if you quit something because it's not aligned with you, then that is coming from a place of courage. That's where courage is winning. When you realize, okay, I did make a choice to do this thing, whatever it may be, and I'm no longer aligned with it anymore, or it didn't turn out how I thought it would. So I am making the right choice to quit this because it is no longer aligned with the direction that I'm going. It's not aligned with my morals. It does not feel right anymore. That takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and speak your truth and say, hey, despite what anyone else feels about this, despite how some people might perceive it, this is a choice that is in the betterment for myself, my business, my family, whatever it is, because it's not in alignment with me. It does not support the direction that I'm choosing to go. And it truly does take a lot of courage because you're not responsible, number one, for how people perceive things. You're not responsible for other people's feelings. People are going to take things however it is that they choose to take it, and that is an internal, battle, or that is totally dependent on their perception of their reality. It has nothing to do with you. If someone perceives your choice to quit something, it's not on you. It has nothing to do with you. I actually read the book, The Four Agreements, and one of the agreements is not to take anything personal. And I think once you realize that some people do take things personal, that is why they might have that reaction that is negative or judgmental or, whatever it may be. And sometimes quitting things involves, other people are involved in this, and then you choose to quit, and then they're like, well, whatever it is, you can't feel responsible, and just don't feel like you have to bear any of that weight of other people's feelings for the choice that you're making, because truly it has nothing to do with you. And that's why it takes a lot of courage, because some people have a really hard time people pleasing and feeling responsible for other people's feelings. I don't anymore. I probably used to. And it's so freeing to have the courage now to stand up and speak my truth and say, hey, this doesn't align with me. And I know that you might feel a certain way about it, and, you're entitled to that, but that has nothing to do with me. This is a choice that I'm making for myself. It has nothing to do with anyone else. And so this choice is my choice. And it is really freeing once you identify and feel deeply that you have the courage to do this, and it makes you feel good. So, yeah, and another example of how you can quit something where it's not out of courage and it's out of fear is, let's say that you want to go solo, you want to have your own solo aesthetics business, and you hire a graphic designer to make your logo, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing this is the first step, whatever. And then he makes your logo, or she makes your logo, whatever, and you're like, ooh, okay, this is real, and you post about it, you're like, hey, I'm starting this business, and then reality sets in, and the fear of responsibility, all the other things that it requires you to do, and you realize, oh crap, I'm scared. And yeah, you decide to quit. And so in that instance, you are quitting out of fear just because you're scared of the responsibility that it actually takes. You dipped your toe in the water a little bit and you're like, oh, okay, this actually is cold, I'm not going to jump in anymore. So that is an example of you're quitting out of fear. And I want to use that same example also where maybe you're quitting out of courage in that instance. So you already announced to everybody, hey, I'm opening up this business. And then you realize, okay, I got a little bit impulsive here. I have some other things that I actually need to take care of before I can commit and dedicate myself to opening up this business. I just jumped in a little too quickly, so hold on. I'm actually not going to do this right now. And that takes a lot of courage to go back on something that you said and, say, hey, this is still a dream and a passion of mine, but we're going to hit the brakes right now. That really does take a lot of courage because you're going back on something that you said, and that might make you look a certain way to some people. So I don't know. That's an example of the same thing, quitting something out of fear or courage. And, in that last example that I showed you, you're not quitting because you're afraid. You're quitting because you actually realized, I'm not ready. So I hope that you guys I explained those two different scenarios well. But yeah, it's just an important message that quitting does not always equate failure at all. It's actually so beneficial to you to quit something when it is no longer aligned with you, or it's not serving you, or it's taking your focused energy away from other things that are allowing you to grow. So something that I didn't quit, but I did slow down on, and that was a choice that I also kind of had the fear of, does this mean that I'm failing at this? Is my apparel line, which is still very much alive and running, but I had made the conscious choice about 2 months ago that I was going to slow down the brakes because I was pumping out design after design after design. And I was like, okay, I need to slow this down right now because it benefits me more to focus my energy in this other area. So I'm going to do that right now. I might not release designs at the frequency that I was doing before, but it is in my benefit. And so that was a choice that I made and that I came to terms with, that it was a good decision. And at first, I felt like it was failing a little bit because I just, I have high expectations for myself, but I have a lot on my plate. I have the apparel line. I have a brick and mortar business where I service clients. I have I'm a content creator, so I have ebooks for estheticians. I have the podcast. I'm a mother and a wife. So I had to realize, okay, where does my energy need to be focused right now so that I can grow in the area that I want to grow in? Okay. So this is where it is. Let's slow down on these other things right now. It doesn't mean that I was quitting with that. I very well could have quit if I felt like I needed to. And if I did decide to do that, it wouldn't have been a failure. It would have been a courageous act because it would have allowed me to grow even more in this other area. But I feel like I don't have to quit that completely to be able to grow in the area that I want to. But just as an example, that's a way of viewing it where it's not a failure. It's actually quite courageous to realize that in order to grow in this other area, maybe you're requiring too much of yourself and some other things need to either just slow down a little bit on your focus or quit them completely. And I was really empowered by that, and it really kind of shifted my perspective a little bit as well. And I hope that it shifts your perspective too, that there is a difference between quitting out of fear and a difference between quitting out of courage. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as always, I will see you next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, for another episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. You can shop my apparel line at Shop Cryptic Skin on Instagram, and you can follow me on my other page, which is Elevated Beauty Aesthetics. And I will see you guys next Monday, 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. You can shop my apparel line at Shop Cryptic Skin on Instagram, where I sell supernatural and kitschy designs for the modern esthetician. You can also follow me on my other page, which is Elevated Beauty Aesthetics. And I will see you guys next Monday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for another episode. Bye.